Hello friends, I'm Brian, and this is Gizmo Board Games. And I am here with just a hot take, first look, quick review, whatever you want to call it, of a game that I just got done playing and I just received yesterday from Kickstarter that I backed a year and a half ago, somewhere in there. It's Distilled by Paverson Games. I showed off in Discord that I had received this game, and I had a few people ask me to get back with how it is. And so I figured, why not? I'm here cleaning it up, so it's still a little bit of mess in front of me, but I figured why not just jump into a quick first take, hot take, first impressions, whatever you want to call it, quick once over review. I'm not going to go over any gameplay or anything like that outside of my comments as I go, and I'm definitely doing this off the cuff, spur of the minute. So I'll do it as clean and as easy as I can. I do want to hit up on my normal Gizmo points. Again, this is a first impression, so these views may or may not, change one way or the other as more and more players are involved. I do want to get into the solo play at some point. It does include a solo game. I haven't even looked over the rules for that yet because I got done reading the normal rules and got some buddies over and we went right into it. 3-player game is my experience. It plays 1 to 5. That being said, let's go ahead and look at the G for gameplay. How was the gameplay? It's a card builder, deck builder kind of game, and then you're utilizing them to make your spirits. And your spirits are going to generate you funds and points that you're going to use for the next round, and obviously points for the end of the game. It's played over 7 rounds, and you're going to have a couple hidden goal cards, and everybody's kind of going their own thing, and you've got some objectives everybody might want to try to hit by the end of a round, because whoever gets them in that round will get those bonus points as well. And then they go away for the rest of the game. So it's a bit of a race for points. It's a race for not resources, but some of the special resources from the board that you can't see. It's just off screen, I'm sorry. But there are upgrade cards, there are better ingredient cards, and there are going to be items you can use, bottles and kegs that you're going to use to sell and ferment your spirits in. I am someone who has homebrewed my own beer, so I know a little bit about the process in general, but I've never distilled, so I have a lot of background experience with some of the concepts introduced in the theme of the game, and that's what drew me in. Anyway, that's a long way to get around to how did I think the gameplay was. I rather enjoyed it. I really do like utilizing cards and tight resources, and this game, I did not expect it to be as tight as it was coming in, but the basic market board, which is where you're going to get a lot of the basic ingredients and the cheaper ingredients, and that's a big key. You're only allowed to go visit it twice a round, so you really had to plan out tight action space around what you could and could not get in a round. And then at the main market board, you can go there a bunch, but everything's more expensive. But it's also more lucrative for you, and the upgrade cards will give you your varying different ways you can act in each of the rounds, whether you're saving money in the market phase or using better resources in the distillation process. So I thought the gameplay was really good and a lot tighter and more thinky than I expected going in. But that said, it wasn't overly complex either. I feel like you could pretty much introduce, not introductory level, but maybe slightly in introductory plus, I think would be all right once they grasp the key concepts in game flow. And that's where I place most of my group with, is probably introductory plus now, just because they played with me a bit. But this isn't a heavy game in any way, but it is a little heavier than light. So the gameplay, draft cards, use them, make spirits. I enjoyed it. I thought it was a lot thinker than I expected, and you really have to plan out your order of operations and your future rounds, how you want them to play out. The ingredients. How are the ingredients? The cards, I was disappointed with how flimsy these cards are. I've gotten around to sleeving a lot of my cards anyway, but this is a game I'm definitely going to want to sleeve, and that going to be quite a bit of card sleeves I'm going to have to get now. But I don't trust these cards to hold up super long, and it's a game where you're constantly cycling and shuffling the cards anyway. So I'm concerned with how long they're going to last. Now, I'm not saying they're real cheap cards, but they're not the highest quality cards either. They're kind of in between. And for a game where you're constantly going to be cycling your cards, especially the ones from the main ingredient board or the basic ingredient board in the alcohol cards, they're going to be used a lot. And I could see a lot of wear and tear as the game gets played more. I've got the Kickstarted all-in version, so I've got upgraded metal coins. I don't know if these are different than what's going to be in the retail version, but these are wood cubes, metal coins. I've got a good storage holder. I really like this. Stores all your different spirits that you can make. It's decent quality for the cardboard. I'm not disappointed in anything. I really, really like this recipe card. It's dual layered, so you can stick your cubes in and they won't slide away, and you can stick your recipe card in and hold it in place. That's a really cool add-on. I believe it was an add-on from the Kickstarter. I really like that, or a stretch goal, whatever the case is. So I'm hoping that's going to be in all the copies for retail and otherwise. But I really do like this dual layered board for all the players. Other than that, everything's basic, but the upgraded bits I think are pretty good quality, and the rest of it is take it or leave it. Metal coins are always a plus. The dual layer board, always a plus. So I'm going to give a thumbs up to the ingredients. Grain of salt being, I don't know if these ingredients are going to hold true for the retail version. All right, Z is easy to play. I touched on this during the gameplay. I think I always kind of touch on this in the gameplay, but yeah, it wasn't super complex. You're going through 5 phases. You're going through a market phase where you're going to spend your money or not, because some of the basic resources are free, but you're limited to just 2 around to get yourself items and ingredients and upgrade cards that you can use in the later rounds or in the same round even. After that, you're going to take your ingredients, you're going to mix them together, you're going to add some alcohol cards to them, and you're going to take off the top card and the bottom card, and that signifies the washback that happens during distillation. I don't know much about that, but it's basically all the stuff that's left behind from the process. And that stuff you'll set aside and get to use in later rounds, but you don't get to use it in what you're brewing now, which means you need to throw in maybe some extra ingredients to guarantee that you can brew the specific, I keep saying brew, distill the specific spirit that you're trying to distill. Because if you lose your grains that you're counting on from the washback, then you're going to have to distill maybe a lesser or a different spirit. So that's something you got to plan around, is the washback process of losing those cards during that process. But you'll shuffle them together. You're going to lose the top one and the bottom one, and then whatever you have left, you're going to choose which spirit it makes, and you're going to grab one of these spirit cards, assuming there's any left, to show that you brewed that spirit. Then you're going to put it into a keg. You get a starting keg that you can use constantly, or you can buy other upgrade kegs. You're going to need upgrade kegs to age, and we'll cover that briefly momentarily, because I guess I'm explaining the gameplay anyway, even though I said I wasn't. You decide what spirit you're brewing, you put it in a keg to age, and then the next phase is the sell phase, and that's where you can choose whether you want to keep aging what you just made and what you might have aging already, because you can hold 2 things at a time, or if you're going to bottle it right away and sell it off. And if you bottle it, then you use a bottle, whether you upgraded a bottle or you're just using the basic one that you always get. You bottle it, you cash it in for whatever the value of all the coins you have on the cards is, and you might get additional victory points based on the ingredients in the bottle you used. And then after that, you're going to go through the age phase where you add some flavors to your aging spirits. And there's a ton of these flavors. They're really funny in some ways. They don't add a whole lot to anything, but they will add more scoring points. And the more you age, the longer you age, the more of these cards you're going to get when you do finally sell that spirit. And that's going to give you additional points exponentially based on how many of these flavor cards you have when you do sell it. You've put more flavor in it, people are more impressed, you get more points. that's the age process. And then you reset the round. You can, if you didn't sell, you can sell your points for money. And then you're going to move the token and do general, end of round things. And that's how it plays. It's not super complex, I guess, was my long way of saying it's, like I said before, it's slightly above entry level. And I think anybody could get it after a while. Not a lot of iconography to get used to. Got 3 continents, 4 with the expansion that I haven't broken into as well. You got 4 different types of sugars you can use. You've got different items, water, yeast, whatever, and you need one of each, to brew. Then you shuffle, you discard, and you try to get points. Nothing overly complex, but there is some iconography to get used to. That's why I say entry level plus for how easy is it. More of it. Do I want more of it? Well, of course I do. I just played it once, and I enjoyed the play. So, yes. But I think there's plenty of variety, too. There's a good stack of, upgrade cards. The ingredients, they end up being relatively similar in the way. Item cards, yeah. I think it could wear after a while because even though there is quite a variety, a lot of them are pretty similar. And you could find yourself kind of in samey mode after a bunch of plays, but I think that's a few plays down the line. You've got, I think, 8 different recipe cards you can use to generate even the recipes you can make from game to game. So that adds the variable to the setup. You got a bunch of different goal cards you can play. You got a bunch of different round cards you can play. So every game is going to be different for quite a while, but the gameplay itself might get same after a while because there's only so many things you're doing. You're buying, you're shuffling, you're making, you're pointsing. So it could get samey after a while, but I think that could be, for me, quite a few plays just because there is enough things that will make the game different, whether it's just changing out the recipe or the goals or whatever. But the gameplay probably will get samey after a while, I imagine, especially for people who get samey feelings despite the randomization of setup, because the gameplay is pretty much the same. Get one of 3 types of ingredients and then turn them into points. All right, so originality. Is it original? I think it pretty much is. Yeah, it's not super original in the draft cards, use cards, get ingredients, use ingredients. But the washback aspect of it, where you almost want to overspend into your distillation to guarantee you're going to make what you want to make because of the washback aspect where you're losing 2 cards at random from what you put in and you might not get what you thought you were getting. And so that makes it fun. That adds a little bit of variability to it. And I think that little bit of the touch of the distillation process and a little bit of the brewing process where, like, if you're brewing beer, you can save the yeast for future uses. I imagine that's the same in the distillation process, and that's represented here by the fact that what you put into your recipe isn't what you're getting out of it all the way. And I thought that's neat. And that little aspect alone, along with the varied recipes you can get, I wish I had one here on me at this time. I think it's original. It's pretty original for being a deck-ish management game. So I really enjoyed this. My first impression is this was fun. I want to play it again. I really like what it offered. It was more thinky than I expected. And I had a good time with it. And I really like the upgraded quality of the things. I got the all-in Kickstarter, so maybe that's swaying my opinion a little bit. But I've also spent a lot of money on Gloomhaven, and I've mentioned I don't like that game at all. And in fact, I think I spent more money on Gloomhaven than this. And I would much rather play this. So whether you think I've got the Kickstarter money bias or not, I thought this was enjoyable. But I could see it wearing its welcome after a bunch of plays with some sameness. My first impression is somewhere between a 4 and a 4.5 out of 5. Gizmos, putting it on, I really enjoyed it and I want to play it again. And if you like this hot take, give me a thumbs up. If you didn't, give me a thumbs down. It helps the thing anyway. Let me know your thoughts. If you've played this, if you've backed it and you're waiting for your copy, if you thought about backing it, whatever your case is, let me know your thoughts on my thoughts about Distilled, and go ahead and subscribe if you haven't. I look forward to see you next time. Maybe with another hot take, maybe with another review, maybe with a top 10. You'll never know. But I do guarantee I do post once a week on Sundays guaranteed, and then some other videos such as this one sprinkled in throughout as I decide to do them. All right, thanks for watching.